with Cubs manager David Ross. Blue Cross Blue Shield through it all. So it's the Bernstein Holmes Rahimi show. But Bernstein, we just got a text message. He has been released from jury duty.
I knew he wouldn't get picked. I knew it.
I knew he wouldn't get picked either.
He really wanted to do it.
Yeah, but he's gonna run over here like I said, like Kramer on Seinfeld, and he'll probably jump in and be in the room. But I've said he is not part of this interview. I'm the captain now. But David Ross is here, and we are happy to. Man, thank you so much, Rossi, for coming down, man. We appreciate it.
I'm excited. I got to check out the country station over here. And
US 99.
Yeah, we were checking that out. That was really nice. I'm a country music fan, so I'd never been down here. It's a lot of radio stations. You guys got some big space here.
Yeah, we do. And shout out to my man Austin Huff there in the back. That's the morning show host at US 99. He was at Windy City Smokeout.
I need to get his contacts in his phone. We got to get connections. We got to link up.
He's 100% connected.
I bet.
So it's not a bad guy
on that.
To meet.
I'm in on that.
For sure, man. It's good to see you.
Good to be seen. I always enjoy talking to you guys. It's nice to come in studio. It's first year we've done this. This is nice. We've met finally, face to face and enjoying this. So, yeah, let's talk some baseball.
All right, let's do it. You said when I asked how you were doing, you're like, I'd be a whole lot better if we were getting some wins right now. This is a stretch where I'm like, come on, like I want the guys to take advantage of this stretch. What's not gone right for you guys?
Well, I think we're all in the same boat. We're pushing hard right now, and you feel like that. It's time to go. It's after the All-Star break. We'll get off on a good start. I thought we ended really well, as crazy as our schedule had been, to take 2 or 3 out of New York, and then played okay one game against Boston and dropped 2 or 3, and then to lose last night. We just got to get on a little bit of a roll and get some things going. It just feels like, a little bit of what could go wrong. I mean, speaking about last night, Belly loses that ball when it goes above the lights. Yeah, and that was tough. We pick a guy off in the first and not be able to make that exchange, and that ball just out of the reach. Christopher Morel kind of reaching for that ball, infield in. There's a couple runs right there, and every run matters. We don't have kind of punch out starters. We've got guys that are contact. We need to play good defense. We need to do the little things right, and to be able to score some runs, get back. The fight is there from our group. We just got to, kind of limit some of those mistakes.
I wanted to ask about the LED lights, because we talk with Ian Happ every week, and he says there's an adjustment that's going on. That they have talked a little bit about it. From your perspective, have you gone out there and looked to see what it looks like, and how is it different maybe from other lights around the league?
I think the main thing that you're going to see is, or that I've heard and being out there, and we've adjusted it a little bit, trying to get the lighting a little bit. It's brighter than it's ever been on the field and from the lights down. When it gets up above that, there's more darkness than it used to be, especially at night. So the outfielders have said they've lost the ball a couple times. Last night was a weird. The one that Belly lost is a little bit hazy, overcast kind of night, and it was gray up there. We actually were screaming a couple times. We had some balls go up that their outfielders looked like they didn't pick up right away. So we were talking about in the dugout, make sure we run everything out, hustle in the box, take the extra base, little things like that, and then end up backfiring on us a little bit. A Gold Glover out there that just loses it. So little things like that are happening to us right now, but we're going to push through. It's time to go. Like you said, it's time to play well. We need to push. We're trying to win each and every game. We're focused on one game at a time. This whole storyline that we want to create is fine, and the outside noise, but it's important for us just to concentrate on each pitch.
We've also talked to you about the lineup construction, which is something that every fan wants to talk about every day. But
great.
It's especially noticeable when you have a guy like Patrick Wisdom hit home run number 16 last night. So he helps cut that lead. It's a winnable game. And then we see the numbers, and the next guy is Christopher Morel. And those are two guys where you want the pop in the bat, but you're also trying to figure out how it fits in together as a whole. What is trying to balance that like been for you?
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to rely on the guys like Nico is going through a little bit of something right now. Wiz, his stuff dropped off pretty hard, and so giving him a little bit of rest, rehab. He's starting to feel a little bit better as of late. I think he was leading the league with like 12 in the first month and a half, right? So he hadn't hit really a lot of them until as of late. He's hit 2 in the last couple games. He's a big part of our success when we're going well. Real thunder in his bat when he's right and connecting with the baseball. Mo's kind of one of those guys that has got a little bit of that and he's got real thunder in the bat. But he's hits in the 3-hole. He hits righties a little bit better than lefties. Our lefty bats have been banging. Kind of not as of late, but Nico, Seiya, some of those guys. Belly's been our best hitter versus lefty. Moving him up in the order has really affected us a little bit, getting him a little bit closer. And, Dansby being out kind of has thrown that off just a little bit as of late. But, lineup construction is something I try to play with all the time. And you also, I think the hard part, fans fall into this spot. A guy gets a little bit cold, drop him in the lineup. I think there's got to be trust in the players that you trust in, right? You got to lean on the players, love on the players. They're all going to go through a little bit of ups and downs, and you're trying to put your most consistent, best at bats at the top, and you can't just drop them to 9 when they have a little bit of a cold stretch. I think that's even more of a blow to the ego and to the confidence when the manager's like, okay, I don't believe in you. I'm going to take you from the 1 spot and drop you all the way to the 9. That's something that they're human beings, and you got to take all those things into consideration.
I think it's the hard part of this season, and I know we have a few more questions about it just moving forward, but is balancing what you know about the game leading up to this point and how lineup construction, for example, managing your players, to also seeing like some major things change in baseball where we're hearing guys like John Mozeliak talk about is getting a pitcher who pitches to contact the best thing for us when the shift goes away, and trying to figure out how you balance those, knowing there's old school knowledge and there's new stuff that's happening that's really affecting how you're trying to put together a season.
Yeah, well, a lot of that's the team you have, right, and what the rules are in place. So like, getting guys that get swing and miss, all that stuff is kind of off-season front office. They get the players. We put them all together. We try to form the best combination we can. We knew that I thought they did a really good job of upgrading our defense and picking a phenomenal shortstop, Dansby Swanson, probably the low man publicly on the totem pole. And he's been, I think he's been the best one of the group. If you're looking at this year, he's young, he solidifies our defense, and we do pitch the contact. So our middle of the infield is probably, I'll ride with them with anybody in the game, especially with Belly up the middle. So you try to encompass that with the pitching to contact, the Strohs, the Steels, the Smileys, even J-Mo and Kyle. All those guys pitch to contact, and we can't afford the little things to go wrong because we don't have we're not going to have somebody punch out a guy at third, less than 2 outs. It's going to be a whole lot of work for us to get that guy, keep him from scoring, as you saw last night. So some of those things come into play, and that's where you see some of those one-run games where we scuffled a little bit, and there's not quite as much swing and miss in the bullpen either. We've got guys that, not a high strikeout rate. I think we're towards the bottom of the league in that.
By the way, David Ross is here. You want to watch on Twitch, twitch.tv/Chicago670 The Score is the way that you can watch it. Rossi, you brought up Ian Happ. I mean, we love Ian. Ian joins us every week. In fact, he'll be on the show tomorrow. And I don't know that I've seen him since right before he went back to Iowa, him look as frustrated at the plate. Like there was a strikeout on Sunday where it was, chest high, and it's a ball that he almost never swings at, that he swung at. Now, last night, he gets the home run, hardest hit home run that he's had in his career, which I thought was dope. When you have a player that's scuffling, like is trying to figure it out, what's your approach? Are you hands-on? Are you hands-off? Do you let the hitting people handle it? Like, how do you go about trying to help a player get out of a funk?
Yeah, it's a total effort, right? Conversationally, having the plan from our hitting guys, talking through that. I've found in my early managerial career that just going straight to the guy and scuffling or dropping in the lineup or having certain conversations, the manager's voice carries a lot of weight. Me and Ian and Nico, some of these guys have unique relationships. We've known each other a really long time. I can talk to Ian pretty openly and freely, kind of like the Rizzos and the Bryants when they were here, and Baez and Schwarbs. But you try to just couple it with like, okay, what are we working on? Where does he feel like he's off? What's his timing doing? And then if he feels like he needs a break, I have, hey, how you doing? Like, how's the body? How's the legs? Are you tired? Do you need a day? You want a DH? We had those conversations. We thought about DHing him a little bit right before the All-Star break, and Tauchman had a little thing with his lower body that had popped up, and didn't want to sacrifice that defense. But we've had conversations. We go through that. It's kind of a team effort. It's me. It's the hitting guys. It's him. We kind of circle the wagons, and everybody's got their input. Has the routine changed? We get our analytical guys. We do have that. We get a write-up on, hey, anything from our skeleton structure that the computer will pop up. Is he wider? Is he more narrow? Is his timing off? Just little things like that, and trying to trickle that into the hitter without messing them up mentally, and being able to go into each game and have that approach. So I would say each guy's different. I would say that, but I'd say I'm not hands-on where it's every single day, but when they're scuffling, we have conversations.
Sure. When you were a player, what did you want?
Leave me
want to be
alone.
left alone? Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, leave me alone. Yeah, leave me alone. Like, it's not as easy as it looks. I think if you have something I think the little nuggets are good. I didn't want somebody to come in and break down my swing. Like, your hands are here, your foot here, because then when you get in the box, you're thinking about mechanical stuff instead of competing. We're talking about internal and external thoughts. Like, there's all that. Like, you need to be external and competing when you're out there in the box. You work on things in the cage. I needed, like, hey, you're starting late, your timing's off, or like trying to have a secondary 2-strike approach sometimes just when it really gets ugly. And I was a guy that would try to lay down a bunt. I wasn't a great hitter, but I would try to do everything I can, scrap and claw. Some of these guys, we need, say, Ian, some of these guys at the top to bang and hit homers and stuff for us to put up crooked numbers and overcome some of the deficits when we don't have the best pitching performance of the night. So, but it's a mixed bag. Some guys like to be left alone. Some guys are tinkerers, which can also be, troublesome. Guys going really good, and then one day he comes in not feeling good and changing something, and then you get lost a little bit along the way. So we talk about process. We talk about guys coming in routine. It's really important that guys come in, whether you feel great or not. I think, to Ian's point, he's one of the most consistent guys we have as far as how his routine is and how he feels and how he works. And it's a process every single day, so he knows he's mentally and physically prepared for that day to go out and compete. That's why he's been really consistent. And you're going to have, I don't think some of the best in the league are going to go through some moments.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how long the slump is.
Yeah, you're trying to. That's the thing. You're trying to, ride the highs as long as you can and limit the lows. And if you can turn that 0 for 20 into 0 for 15, that's a big win. It really is.
As for you, the manager, and you mentioned what you wanted when you were a player, and that empathy and knowing your personnel, which is so much of that job. Who are you today compared to who you were this time last year, compared to who you were, say, in 2020 when you started?
Ooh, I'd like to say I'm less emotional, but I still get tossed out late out of games way too much. Yeah, one of my buddies called me, texted me the other day. It was like, "Don't ever apologize for passion." So that was a nice text to get. I think my patience is growing. It should, because of how hard and the things I understand that are out of the manager's control, and that it's about supporting, being a supporting cast, a voice, little details, what you can tell young players, what you can tell veteran players, how to handle that, the conversations, and then you get more comfortable with just the outside noise. I think it's just, there's moments where in the past internally I've just ridden it really hard. You still have moments where you don't sleep when you feel like you're trying to help in any way you can, change things up, show confidence in players, help them mentally, help them physically, coaching staff, conversations, front office conversations, all those things, just about belief in the group, and continue to be supportive. And also there's times when you've got to have conversations that aren't fun, but those have become more comfortable just because it's just truth. I like to be a truth teller, and I like to be a truth teller in a positive way, but it doesn't always work out that way. But those have become a little bit more easy is probably not the word, but I'll probably attack those a little bit sooner than I would. I probably procrastinate early as a manager and just try to tackle those head on now. But I think patience would fall in that, a big category. Just young players are going to make mistakes. That's just part of it. It's part of development. Guys are here faster than they've ever been, and Christopher Morel sometimes doesn't always play the cleanest baseball game, but he's the most electric player I would say we have. The guy is just exciting to watch him. I love when he's in the box, and I'm expecting him to make a game-changing thing. And it's like, he's young. He doesn't know what I know. He doesn't know what Dansby Swanson knows or Ian Happ knows. He hasn't experienced all those things yet. And sometimes just the base running mistakes or throwing to the wrong base or whatever that is, like, his heart's in the right place. He's trying the bunt, right? The bunt the other day. It's like he's trying to help the team. His heart is in the right place. This is a learning moment. I've got to teach. It's not time to be frustrated. It's time to teach. So the more I can take my frustration and swallow that and find a way to deliver a message that's going to make us better in the future. That's the goal. We're trying to win a World Series here, and we're trying to do it as fast as possible. How are we going to do that? We're going to learn from our mistakes.
I want to ask you about Morel because I'm so curious. I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago. It's so hard to learn any position and play it well at the major league level. When you're talking about that wasn't the plan. The plan wasn't for Christopher Morel to play third base, and then you have some injuries, and you're like, okay, he's kind of got to play third base. With him being someone that goes around the diamond a little bit, how hard is it to develop a player at a position at the major league level?
It's hard. It's hard. And I think this is probably internally as much as a struggle as we have is like, where can we get the most out of Christopher Morel and how does he fit into our roster, right? Last year, burst on the scene, not expected. A lot of guys got injured. He comes up and sets the world on fire. So now it's like, okay, let's move him around. He's an athlete. You're going to have to take a little bit of the learning curve with that. And still fitting into this year's plan, we've got multiple outfielders that are going to play every day. Belly's not moving from center. Haph's not moving from left. Saya's not moving from right. He's not playing up the middle, which I think is his best position. So third base, and that's probably where he's not his strongest, I would say. And there's a lot of learning and decision making at first base that some people say, well, put him at first or whatever. It's like you're going to have to take some of that with what spots are open from veteran guys. What I would say, I mean, we go through that right now. Miles Mastrobuoni is a better second baseman than Christopher Morel. Christopher Morel's best position, to me right now, most comfortable is second base. So Miles is a balance of putting him at third. Probably not Miles' best position either. But it's to me, putting Christopher every day while Dansby's out at second base is going to be best for Christopher Morel and his future. Now, when Dansby comes back, Nico goes back over, he's going to have to go back to third base or some DH roles. So, we're still in the mix of trying to find him the best position, and it's going to be an ongoing thing. He's going to work on in the offseason, things that he's going to have to grow, but finding him somewhere is definitely a priority, and we're working on that every single day. And he works his tail off as a young man at whatever position we put him at. He's got a great attitude about the way he works, and we're lucky to have him.
We are joined by Cubs manager David Ross, as you know, live from the Blue Cross Blue Shield Performance Stage, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, through it all. It is fun to talk about development. It's also, I imagine, pretty rewarding to talk about having players realize their full potential again, whether it's a guy like Marcus Stroman or even Cody Bellinger. I don't know that we've talked about it enough when it comes to Bellinger and how difficult that is to be that far removed from an MVP season and be able to put it together the way he has and withstand an injury and still shows that improvement. Yeah,
I mean, look, what Belly's doing this year is pretty spectacular, and I think he's exceeded our expectations even. I like to pride, we like to pride on ourselves on a lot of guys that identifying some guys that might fit in really well here and some freedom of what we were able to provide here, whether it's in the bullpen or in center field or a guy like Stroh who comes in and you let a guy be themselves. And I don't have a whole lot of rules, or I'm not this strict guy, and you go out there and like all I ask for is effort, focus, a routine, and go out there and compete your tail off. And the work that Belly's put in the off season, and identifying where he wants to be better, and him teaming up with our hitting guys and sticking to that plan is all him. I don't think that as a manager or as an organization, it's impossible to take credit for that, but like I think he's thriving in an environment, a change. Look at Jason Hayward. Jason Hayward's doing really nicely in LA, and sometimes a change of environment is just what guys need mentally, physically, new voices as coaches. That stuff can get stale, and or the message gets a little bit harder, or you go outside for the messaging, and you're trying different things, you're trying to fit in, and whether you feel like your coaching staff has lost confidence in you, or you just need a little bit of a change, whatever that is. I think those things come into play for each guy individually, and we're happy Cody's here, and he's putting a lot of work and having and going to make himself a lot of money.
What is the pressure like when you know that if things don't turn around, it could mean players are going to go, players that have done well for you this season, like there are players that could be traded. What's that pressure like? What are those conversations like you have with players that might be coveted by some other team?
Well, I don't know that it's pressure, right? It's like we're trying to win them all, and losing players suck. I've had that. That's not fun. But I think it doesn't change on the daily and how we play. I don't think the pressure. I think it's like when you have those conversations of, hey, we've got a good team, and they come to me and they believe in this team and they believe in that and they believe in our group to come back in our division, and it's down. It's like, you got to go out and prove it. It's like, we can talk about it. You got to go out and win baseball games, and that's the bottom line. Like, there's only one defining moment at the end of the game, who won, who lost, and we need to be on the winning side a lot more than the losing side.
Do we have time to ask David Ross about some fun stuff?
Yeah, I think that's what we should spend the rest of the time. But I will say that, like, one of the things I love about this segment, and before Rossi was manager, Joe did this show, like, the learning of baseball, like going through what his process is really interesting to me. Like, there's already, like, I'm already going through, and I know Dan's in the room, and I know he's doing the same thing.
He's here.
Where I'm already going through, like, oh, Rossi said this. I want to, like, isolate this part of it and bring it back on tomorrow's show and talk about all of this stuff. But it's so great to have all of this experience available to us, because it allows us to try and educate the fan through you on how things work and why you're doing certain things. So before we get to the fun stuff, I just want to say thank you, and thank you for coming in, because it's appreciated that where we get to learn about the game.
Sure. There are moments, and maybe we do the Twitter. Let them type one in. I don't know if it's Twitter.
You want a question?
No. Well, yeah, we do it. We do an online question. Fire one away.
All right. If you got a question, text us 312-644-6767.
We'll have some fun till then.
So go ahead. And then I'll find a question for Rossi, and then you guys can talk about fun stuff.
No, I did. We do like to take the time to also have a good conversation here and there about, like, the life stuff, because to me that, covering a baseball team too, it's an everyday thing. Your office is every day, and you do get to have life happen around you. So one of those times, I think, happened on Sunday. I got to experience the Zach Brown band for the first time, but that's not your first time. What was it like checking them out at Windy City Smokeout?
It was great. I try to, it's nice. It's something I've been to a lot, and I think it's my 4th year going. I just love country music and had a lot of family in town. So that was a lot of fun. Saw Zach Bryan the first night. We had a game Friday night. And then I saw Luke on Saturday, and Zach Brown Band Sunday. So it was nice. Hung out with a lot of family. Enjoyed that. My kids are in town. My mom and dad. A lot of their friends came up, and we enjoyed aunts and uncles. Everybody was in. We had a nice little spot to watch that. It was a great concert. It's always a fun event for me. It's outdoors, beautiful weather. We had all 3 nights I went, and I just love country music. It's nice to separate and turn off. I don't get to turn off too much, so it's nice to throw back a couple cocktails and listen to country music.
Is there one out of those 3 that you really enjoyed the show?
I think Zach. I had seen Zach Brown in my hometown arena a while back, but I just thought him and Zach Bryan really brought it. Luke's a friend of mine, so I've seen him a ton of times. But the other 2 just, it was just really, really good music. And then, whenever it's like karaoke and I feel like I'm singing along the whole time, that's always a prize. So Zach Brown, I know a lot more of his songs than Zach Bryan.
All right, so there's a bunch of questions that are popping in. I like some of these.
I said one.
All right.
I'm just kidding.
I like this one. Who is the best pure hitter that you've played with or coached?
Oh, best pure hitter I've played with.
Or coached.
I think I would have to say, man, I've played with some. Chipper would probably come like who I played with. Yeah, I played with a couple.
Pretty good choice.
Yeah, him, Griffey, right? King Griffey. It was on the IL with a broken toe, and we were in Cincinnati, and actually the Cubs came into town. And he was just available to come off the IL. I remember him taking batting practice in flip-flops that day in the cage. It was a day game. And they went and grabbed Griffey to pinch hit, and he literally put the phone. He was on the phone. He put the phone down, said, "Hold on." Came in, 3-run homer, and walked back. They put a defensive replacement in, and walked back out, got back on the phone. It's like a vitamin water deal or something he was doing. Who does that? I don't know.
That's big league.
Nobody even high-fived him. We were all pissed. Like, you hadn't played in 20 days. That's back when the IL was 15 days. So he hadn't played in like 15, 20 days. That guy's he knows that. he used to, at batting practice, he's like, my swing knows the way, buddy. I've hit more home runs in batting practice than you have in your entire life.
So there's a it's not my story. I believe it's Paul Konerko's story about Ken Griffey Jr., where Konerko's in the clubhouse and there's this long rain delay that's going on. And he's, the captain of the team. So he's like saying, hey, everyone, make sure you get stretched out, like all this stuff. And he goes up to Junior when Junior was on the White Sox. And he's like, you want to make sure you're ready. And Junior points to his shoe that has the swing man on the shoe. And he goes, this guy, he's always ready. You don't have to worry about him. He's always ready.
He was a fun teammate and had that kind of like cocky arrogance in a fun way. It was just like, trust me, buddy. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, just generational. Do you have like that? Do you have a big league moment like that where you remember, especially like sticking out in your career, where you're like, this is the show?
Yeah, I watched Mark McGwire take batting practice in Arizona, and he was hitting balls out of they got these windows that are like above, like kind of further than anybody could hit it, even, probably further than anybody could hit it from second base, and he's taking batting practice and just hitting them out these open windows, and you're like, wow, this is a grown man league. Do I belong here? I'm not sure. I was really young. My first spring training, I walked in, and like Kevin Brown was on the training table, and Eric Karros, Brian Jordan, former NFL player, Marquise Grissom, Earl Hershiser. There's people around, and you're just going, like, looking around, and like Kevin Brown stands up from the training table, and his back is literally like this big. And I'm like, that guy is the largest human I've ever seen. I don't belong here. I was probably 22, 23 years old. So this is a grown man's league. Big people are around.
Was there ever anyone, we were having a conversation about this on yesterday's show. Was there ever anyone that you sought out, like someone that you were like, oh my God, like that person is my favorite player or was my favorite player? And when you become a pro, whether you were a teammate or an opponent, where you were like, hi, I'm David Ross. I'd really like to meet you because you're my favorite player.
Well, I think I grew up in North Florida, and I grew up a Braves fan. So like the Chipper, I used to, when I would do stuff like this and Chipper was in the room, I used to watch Chipper on my black and white TV to give him a hard time. But Bobby Cox, Eddie Perez was a big one. He was my coach in Atlanta. Glenn Hubbard was our first base coach. That was one. But the funniest story I have, Eduardo Perez, who works for ESPN, played for the Cardinals. I had spring training. I was with the Dodgers. They sent us over to play the Cardinals, and he's getting in the box, and he played at Florida State, which is my hometown. I used to go there and sit and watch a bunch of baseball games. My high school was right there on the campus, so I'd walk over and do some things over there. My mom worked for Florida State. So I was there a lot, and I used to watch him play when he was in college. So I'm catching, and he walks up, was like, Mr. Perez, my name's David Ross from Tallahassee, Florida. I used to watch you play college baseball. I'm a big fan. He was like, and John Sherlock was the umpire. He goes, oh, boy, here it is, the age moment. He's like, kid, you're making me feel really old. And I was like, I was just trying to give you a compliment. But I was like,
well, Ross, funny. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with us here today and coming in. I know that the people would like to talk with you a little bit too, so we are going to release you from the radio aspect of your duties today and say good luck. Make that run, man.
Let's go.
Cubs fans need it. They need that run
right now. Yeah, we do.
Now.
Yeah. Thank you.
That is the manager of your Chicago Cubs, David Ross. We are going to take a timeout, and I believe we're going to be back in the three-person formation. Dan has made it back from jury duty, and he is going to join us next here on The Score.